Here's what's coming up on today's show.
Do you worry about Social Security running out of money before you retire? Is claiming benefits at age 62 or age 70 the better decision for your financial future? Today, Mark and I will debunk common myths about Social Security and provide answers you need to make the best decisions about your benefits.
It's easy to get lost on the way to retirement. Things like taxes, improper planning, and excessive market risk can all lead you astray from your goal of a successful and happy retirement. That's where Liz Whittaberry comes in. She's a holistic financial advisor and the founder of Best Path Advisors, and she can help guide you to a better financial path. This is Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry.
Welcome into this edition of the podcast. It's Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry and myself to talk about debunking some top Social Security myths. Now, we're going to turn this into 2 episodes because we've got 10 we're going to go through. So we're going to do 5 this week, and then we'll do the next 5 in just a week or 2 when we do our follow-up podcast. So as always, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, consider doing so, and you can find that information at Liz's website at bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com, or you could simply just type in Retire on Your Best Path into the search box of Apple, Google, Spotify, or whatever podcasting platform app you like to use. So let's get into the conversation with Liz. Liz, how are you? What's going on?
I am great. I'm great. It's spring here, so it's starting to get to be nice weather.
Yeah.
Not too hot, not too cold.
That's right. I love it this time of year. And, we are into, what are we into? Late April here when we're kicking this thing off. And like I said, we're going to break this into 2. And Social Security is one of those things where it's always, it's a poker chip, right? It gets kicked around by Congress and everybody, and it's always in the news. And there's always kind of these things that kind of get swelled up out of proportion. I think like any myth probably in life, Liz, right? There's usually like a little nugget or a piece or something that kind of causes it to spiral off a little bit in a direction, which then creates the myth. So what I wanted to do was go through some of these big ones and have you kind of reel them back in and highlight the actuality of whatever it is. Because, again, sometimes there's like a little nugget of truth to it, but it kind of gets distorted. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's such an important conversation. In fact, I've been focusing on Social Security on my YouTube channel this month because people get to retirement, and it's really the first time that they're starting to think about, what is that Social Security thing exactly? How does it work? And so I think it's important to cover these myths that we're going to go through so that people do have the good information that they should have.
And often we think many people look at Social Security as a different piece that's like, well, I've saved here, I've got my 401k or whatever, and then I also have Social Security, versus maybe looking at these things working in conjunction and how they could play together. And one of those myths are actually on here. We're going to get into that in a minute. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Myth number 1, that the Social Security Administration, the office you go down to, that they'll help you make the best decision about when you should start your benefit. Now, they provide a lot of information, Liz, but this is really not one that they're supposed to be doing and really shouldn't be doing.
Correct. As I always say, they're not fiduciaries. Their job is to provide education, as to how what the rules are, but not what the best strategy is for your own personal situation. So they'll tell you what your benefit is at different ages and give you some basic information on the rules, quite a few pamphlets that they have put together, but they are not allowed under law to give advice because they can't know your full picture.
Exactly. They don't know who you are and what's going on, right?
Yeah. It's a good idea to get input from a financial advisor and even financial advisors when we're looking at getting the information from Social Security. If it's a bit of a complicated situation, then we'll want to make sure that we really dig in and get good information, because you can even sometimes get bad information from the first person you talk to at the Social Security Administration. Sure. So they do the best that they can to give the facts, but then you have to take it from there to create the plan and the strategy that's going to be the best thing for you.
Yeah. Years ago, any kind of government office would have that DMV kind of mentality where it's like, oh gosh, that's the last place you want to go and have to spend any time and ask questions. But I don't think they're quite as bad as the DMV. But again, they're still not supposed to, they're supposed to give you the basic information that, it's entitled to you, but they can't really help you with your planning strategy. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Myth number 2. You won't get any Social Security if you were a stay-at-home mom. And Liz, I think this one probably spawns out of the fact that there are some requirements to get your own Social Security. There's some minimums that you have to meet as a worker, but this is not true. Even if you never had a job, but you were married, you still could get something, correct?
Correct. There are 3 basic benefits. Your retirement benefit that's on your own work record, your spousal benefit on your spouse's work record, and your survivor benefit, which is also on your spouse's work record when they're deceased. So the stay-at-home mom, or even somebody that has worked some but not a lot, that person, if they're married, will have a spousal benefit and be eligible up to half of the working spouse's benefit. Now, they have to wait until full retirement age to get that full 50%, but they would be able to get half of their working spouse's benefit at full retirement age.
Is that the working spouse's full retirement age? Yes. Okay.
Well, the stay-at-home mom, let's say we're talking about the stay-at-home mom. If the stay-at-home mom wants to start the spousal benefit, has never worked, that stay-at-home mom can start that spousal benefit at her full retirement age and get half of her spouse's full retirement age benefit.
Gotcha. And does it
if
what
she wants
their age
to
is?
Start at age 62, she's going to have about a 35% reduction. It's a little bit more of a reduction than in the retirement benefit.
Okay.
And it won't increase after full retirement age.
Gotcha. Okay. That clears that up a little bit as well, because some people might think, oh, do I have to wait till my spouse whom I'm claiming against is at full retirement age, but you're saying it's based on your own age. So
her own age, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or his, if he's a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And or stay-at-home dad, I should say.
And of course, the minimums, right, is if to collect your own is what 40 quarters, which is what 10 years basically. You've somewhere across your lifetime you have had to work 40 quarters and contribute.
Yes, that is correct.
All right.
That is correct.
Myth number 2 then. So myth number 3. This one's you got to love this one. You won't pay taxes on Social Security since you already paid taxes on the money when you put it into the system. And once upon a time, Liz, this was actually true, which is maybe where the myth comes from.
Yes. When Social Security was passed into law in 1934, there were no taxes on Social Security income. Now, you have to remember that they started Social Security payments at age 65, which is still the basic age that we often think about, even though full retirement age has been moved beyond that. Mm-hmm. But people weren't living to 65. The life expectancy was 58 for men and 62 for women. And they didn't expect that everybody in the U.S. was going to be collecting Social Security. So it was not taxable at that point in time. In 1984, they amended the Social Security program because the trust fund at that time was about to run out. Well, it was a 1983 amendment,
right?
And it was enacted in 1984. And one of the changes was to start taxing a portion of Social Security.
Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Are we getting close to that conversation again, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's going to run out in 2033 or whatever. So they kind of wait till the last minute, don't they?
They do. They absolutely do. And that's my expectation this time around. But, in that, in the tax law that was put in place in 1984, they said if you've got, as an individual filer, if you've got more than $25,000 of income, or as a married filing jointly filer, more than $32,000 of provisional income, then you'll have to pay tax on up to 50%. And then if you're above 34 for individual filers and 44,000 for married filing jointly filers, then you'll have to pay tax on as much as 85% of your Social Security, but you never pay tax on more than 85% of the Social Security under our current law. And the thresholds have not changed. They are not inflation adjusted, so they've never changed.
And that's actually not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good thing
right.
for us. It is a good thing for Social Security because they continue to get more and more people that are having to pay some tax on a little bit of that Social Security.
Yeah. And I guess we should be clear that it's up to 85%. It's not an 85% tax bracket. It's just up to 85% of the. And this is where, Liz, income planning comes into play, right? Because if you're strategizing with a professional like yourself on where you're pulling your money from and so on and so forth in retirement, you want to try to be tax efficient. And this is an area where you could certainly do a little bit of that.
Correct. Look at how that Social Security is going to flow through the tax return. And, if you're able to manage the type of income that's flowing through, then you can keep your tax paid on Social Security at a little bit lower rate as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So really important point there to make sure that you're talking with a qualified professional who's, thinking about taxes as well as just the income side of things, right? So when you're working with a planner, make sure that you're working with someone who's really kind of thinking about all facets and not just, well, this is where we're pulling the money from and yada, 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 right? So you want to have all those pieces in there. All right, so we're going through these myths. Pretty good information here, definitely to know. And so let's go to the final two for this particular episode, Liz. They're going to kind of play together. We're going to go from one to the next in a second, but they kind of work well together. And these are the two biggies. These are the ones that really make the rounds on social media or whatever, right? So myth number 4 is there's not going to be any Social Security left by the time you retire because it's going broke or is broke, right? That's typically the conversation we hear.
Right.
And we just kind of addressed that a little bit with the whole 2033 thing, that, there's that nugget of information that is true that their trust fund is suffering, has some issues, and in 2033 or 4, whenever they keep kind of changing it, it could be out. And I think that's where the myth kind of spawns from, that they're it's going to be gone, right? And it's just going to disappear. That's a totally different thing than the trust fund running out.
Yeah, the trust fund is certainly on the decline and projected to run out in now 2033. Last year it was 2034. But Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. It always has been. So the income tax that is collected for Social Security purposes is used to pay Social Security benefits. And if there's a surplus in income tax, Social Security taxes being collected, that goes into the trust fund. If there's not a surplus, if we're actually paying out more benefits than we're collecting in taxes as we are right now, then they're having to dip into the trust fund each year. And at some point in time, the trust fund will run out. At that point, under law, then they will have to adjust the benefits to match the income coming in because there's no surplus. That's what they faced in 1983 when they did that amendment. And that's what we will face in the next 10 years, we will be at that point again, and there'll have to be a resolution as to, do they adjust benefits or do they adjust taxes upward, or do they adjust some of the ages?
Right, exactly.
Do they adjust the COLA? There's a lot of places that they could make some small adjustments to bring the two in line.
Yeah.
The longer they wait, the bigger those adjustments are.
Yeah.
And the Social Security trustees report does give some recommendations on very small increases in Social Security taxation and other things that could be done. But none of the politicians really want to pick up that ball and run with it because it's 10 years out and they're so now focused.
Oh, yeah. No, and that's what we were saying. It's like, to your point, I think that was a great comment there, is that the longer they wait, the worse it gets and the more they have to make adjustments. But that's their MO. That's what they're going to do, right? No politician wants to touch it. It is a political hot potato. And it's always a pain that they don't want to deal with it. So they wait till the last minute. But as far as the myth of it's just going to be gone, the same kind of thing applies. No politician's going to stand up there and say, well, we killed it. It's no one gets a check ever again. Bye. Right? Because they're just not going to do that. So I think. Yeah,
we'll still have Social Security tax. They have to eliminate the Social Security tax, to totally eliminate that. So that'll be coming in. And the projections are that would cover the taxation that's coming in, would cover about 73% of the benefit for another 100 years.
Right. And, that's an interesting point, too, because I've seen so many things. There's so many ways they could do this. Look at what's happening in France, right? They're so upset about pushing the pensioner program back just 2 years, right? And you're seeing the young folks and it's the young folks. It's like, you're 40 years away. What are you worried about? But anyway, Just moving our early retirement, our 62, moving that to 64. I've seen some information that says that would fund it for another 100 years. So there's lots of different things they could do. To your point, you highlighted a few different ways that they could do that. So I think that's the big myth that, it's going to run out, it's going to be gone, and you won't get a check ever again kind of thing. And that's just hyperbole. There is some trouble, and our changes are coming, but I don't think they're going to happen anytime. And I think they're probably grandfather people too. That's kind of I think the consensus out there, Liz.
That certainly is the thinking, and has been for a long time.
Yeah, if you're over say 50 or something, right?
There's no guarantee of anything until they actually vote and put something in place. We don't know exactly what it's going to be, but they are much less likely to make any changes that would impact anybody close to retirement. So 50 and above is much less likely to be impacted than people that are younger. That certainly doesn't make your kids and grandkids happy.
No, of course not. But it does take a little bit of stress off of folks that are over 50, like myself.
Too late to do something different.
Is
really the thought. They're close to retirement, so no big changes.
Well, think about the RMD, right? Same kind of thing that they just did.
Yeah.
You could see them easily saying, okay, based on your birthday, from this birthday, back, you're fine. If you were born this year and after, you're going to have to wait till 65 or something like that. So there's a ton of options that are on the table. So we'll see how it goes, to your point, as we get a little closer over the next 2 years.
And the interesting thing is the change in the full retirement age in 1984, which was one of the big things that turned the trust fund around. It was going to run out in 1985.
Right.
Okay. That was phased in. And we're just now getting to some of those later ages this many years later because of the way that was phased in very gradually.
Yeah.
So it wasn't big changes that they put in place. And the way that Social Security income is taxed, if someone didn't have much income, then they still weren't, if they were basically living on Social Security, they didn't end up paying tax on their Social Security.
Yeah.
So it was minor changes at the time that turned the program around. So I really believe they can do that again.
There you go. All right. Well, then let's go to myth number 5, which I said kind of dovetails into the prior myth. So myth number 5 is that you should claim it as soon as you're eligible. And usually that's tied, the caveat there is, because it's going to run out, right? So many people, and Liz, you and I have had this conversation. If you're doing your planning and you need the income, you need to turn it on at 62 because you actually need the income. That's one thing. Right. But if you're just turning it on at 62 because you think it's going to run out, or because the government owes me, it's my money, or whatever stance here is, you could be costing yourself. So it may not be the best strategy.
Yes. When I'm looking at the Social Security decision for any individual or couple that I'm working with, what I want to think through is, how do they optimize that Social Security income to work with the other income that they have, the portfolio that they have, the way that the portfolio will or will not provide income, and what their future goals are as far as legacy, because the Social Security income stops when they pass away. There is no legacy value to that at all. What their health is, the longevity in their family, and really build a plan incorporating all of the possibilities of all of those pieces to make sure that Social Security decision is truly optimized for their situation as best as we can, predict the future in our planning. But I don't buy into everybody has to file at 62 or everybody needs to wait to 70. And there's a bit of that you see in the media one way or the other. I think it's very nuanced from couple to couple based on all of the pieces of their plan.
Yep. It's based on what it is that you need. And so, again, these are kind of the top 5 Social Security myths that we wanted to break down for you a little bit. And I think Liz did a great job of helping us see some of the highlights there. And of course, as always, if you've got questions about any of these particular myths, make sure you're reaching out to her, give her a jingle, stop by the website, whatever that is for you. You can find her online at bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, because we are going to come back with the next episode here in just a couple of weeks with part 2. So we're going to do 5 more myths. So good information, Liz. Anything else that we might have needed to wrap up on this one before we go into the next one?
I just want to say, if you like the topics here, be sure and check out the YouTube as well, because I have other Social Security information there. And so look up Best Path Advisors on YouTube, and you will get some additional insights.
All right, there you go. So Best Path Advisors, again, you can find that on YouTube as well. And so we'll be back next time with more conversation with Liz Whittaberry, founder and financial advisor at Best Path Advisors. And we'll see you next time here on the podcast.
Thank you, Mark.
The preceding program is sponsored by Best Path Advisors, which is solely responsible for its content. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through J.W. Cole Advisors. Best Path Advisors, J.W. Cole Financial, and J.W. Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. The opinions expressed by Liz Whittaberry should not be construed as specific tax, legal, or investment advice, nor as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Neither J.W. Cole Financial nor its representatives provide legal, tax, or accounting advice. Persons who provide such advice do so in a capacity other than as a registered representative of J.W. Cole. Investing is subject to risks, including the loss of principal. Due to volatility within the markets mentioned, opinions are subject to change without notice. Information is based on sources believed to be reliable, however, their accuracy or completeness cannot be guaranteed.